All right, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Connor on Chain. So, in this video, we got Bitcoin DeFi, in my opinion, heating up right now in the aspect of innovation. You know, if you guys saw my previous video about, I'd say a few weeks ago, I cover my thoughts, some simple thoughts and ideas I have about the current Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. But with that being said, I want to cover a few things about why Bitcoin DeFi, I feel like, is gearing up for another whole new level of innovation, and kind of why I'm starting to pay attention again. So we got OPNET here. If you guys are in the Bitcoin DeFi sector consistently, you probably have heard of OPNET, you've seen it. There's been a lot of traction towards it lately. But the main innovation that I want to cover here, just simply put, is we are getting on native Bitcoin protocols. It looks like we are going to be getting smarter innovation, as in, potential real smart contracts built on native Bitcoin. Most of these protocols, I think they're doing it a little bit differently than each other, hence why there's so many different protocols aiming to do things like this. But we got OPNET here, which in my opinion seems fairly promising. We got TAP protocol, which is tied to Track, which, if you guys aren't familiar, Track Bitcoin is still my top conviction Bitcoin DeFi play going forward. I don't think it's going anywhere. And TAP protocol, as of August 12th, they've executed Bitcoin native smart contracts, similar idea to OPNET. But then we also have Fractal Bitcoin, which has been getting a lot of attention recently. And Fractal is going to be pretty interesting as well. Lots of people are, very bullish on the potential for faster block times / transactions, and people are just speculating on how more retail investors or even people in crypto Twitter are going to be gravitating towards these newer ecosystems, right? And again, there's a lot of good and bad potential for it, because there's been a lot of people coining the term slow-fi for a lot of projects on Bitcoin, which I think is kind of funny. But mainly because, if you're doing anything on Bitcoin, you got very slow transaction times, right? Slow block times. That's kind of part of Bitcoin in and of itself. It has been since its inception, right? It's just fairly slow for what it is. But from a DeFi perspective, a lot of people like that. A lot of people, question it, because for any sort of mass adoption, how are you gonna, have a few transactions per few seconds. I don't know exactly how many transactions per second. I just know it is incredibly slow in comparison to any other chains, L2s out there right now. But with these other protocols, right, that's exactly what they're aiming to do, and just create a ton of real innovation on Bitcoin. And why I think this is different, though, especially in comparison to BRC20s, even runes, is because when we had them last year, even in 2023, the idea of BRC20s and even tokens just on Bitcoin, innovation on top of Bitcoin, it was really experimental. There really was not, super full out products, services, anything like that already built on native Bitcoin. It was very, very speculative at the time, and at the moment we had, BRC20s, they launched middle of a bear market, right? That's why there's no attention on them. But that ended up being why they ran so hard, is because one, zero attention on it for a long time. And then when Bitcoin started to really run, they were the only Bitcoin native type of investment you could have at the moment, right? It's not like right now where there's going to be 10 to 20 different Metaprotocols, let alone, again, another 10 to 20 different Bitcoin L2s, eventually to have tokens and stuff like that, That's why BRC20s did so well. But on the side of investment, it's going to be very different, I feel like, for when these projects are launching, especially a lot of these Metaprotocols and a lot of these Bitcoin L2s, because again, BRC20 is the only investment you basically could jump into. Is the first, iteration of experimental infrastructure on Bitcoin. But now we have 20 to 30 different chains, different Metaprotocols. But from an innovation standpoint, it's the complete opposite, because now we are seeing just, in my opinion, just very credible and it looks very strong as far as what is being built now, because it's like Bitcoin DeFi, a year, 2 years later now. I'm sorry, maybe not 2 years, a year and a half later, we got real innovation being built on Bitcoin. We have working products as well. Even I just look at Liquidium, very simply put, it is working. It has some sort of mindshare. Lots of people actually use it for lending, stuff like that. I'm personally very bullish on the fact of that, exactly, because it's a working product, people use it, But I think just going forward, when we have these different protocols launch, gonna be interesting. I think seeing faster block times and stuff, faster transactions, lots of scalability going forward, for actual investments, meme coins, actual projects being launched left and right on Bitcoin. I think seeing some of these side chains, these Metaprotocols, these L2s, whatever you want to call them, whatever different protocol, I'm talking about, definitely going to be interesting going forward to see, what develops out of it. So again, we got Fractal as well, which this is something I actually need to look into today. I did not realize they had their tokenomics out that you can jump into. So actually, why don't we just look at it real quick? Because my other thing too is when you got a lot of investors behind certain things like this, it's different. Again, even I look at Track on Bitcoin, fully fair launched. Anyone and everyone could have just bought as much as they want, right? But when you got something like this, let's just take a look. So we got mining 50%, core contributors 15%, grants by the pre-sale, so very small pre-sale, advisors, ecosystem treasury. So actually, right off the bat, half of the total token supplies are highlighted proof of work, mining, aligning Fractal closely with Bitcoin security models is critical for maintaining it. Okay, so actually right off the bat, just from percentages here, that does not look too bad, I have to say. Ecosystem treasury, because one of the main things, I'm not going to fully dive in yet, but if we saw pre-sale, seed investors, this, that, and the other thing, just for seed investors, pre-sale, private sales, team, if you saw a huge chunk of that percent, especially if it's not disclosed what's happening with it, that's going to be questionable. But now the unlocks, though, is going to be something I'd be curious about. 80% of all tokens are allocated to the community, with just 20% for the team and contributors. Okay. Yeah, so again, I'd like to see what kind of unlocks this would have going forward, especially very short term. Again, when token launches, a month, couple months out from launch, because that is going to be half the reason why when this launches, it's going to launch, it'll be hype for potentially a few days, a few weeks, unless it gets a full network effect of crypto Twitter. Everyone is starting to jump in because let's say Fractal just becomes another brand new narrative for, meme coins. Because I think they have a pump fund launching. I don't know if it's on Fractal or OPNET, but I'm just giving you guys an example. It's most times when a new Metaprotocol or even just any project launches, when there's a lot of hype beforehand, it will launch, and 95% of the time it's probably going to dump or drop significantly right off the bat. It's never just going to trend up and up and up. It's not going to just consistently do this over the span of the next 6 months. It's going to launch, it's probably going to dump, all the tokens are going to dump, unless an entire wave of people start jumping into it for a few weeks. Then that's going to be something where people might pay attention to it for a little while, but at the end of the day, it's going to be hype at first. At the end of the day, it's going to launch after that. launch, dump a little bit after that. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be a failure by any means. That is how any project protocol launches, when there's hype beforehand. So keep that in mind, especially if you're going to be investing in Fractal tokens. Yes, you'll be able to catch a bunch of, brand new runners. Potentially, you might be able to catch a few 5x, 10x, 20, 30x, right off the bat. But it's going to be similar. Just think about how Runes launched, right? It was hyped for what, a few days, maybe a week, 2 weeks. Then what happened? 90% of the tokens just ended up slowly trickling down. That's exactly what's going to happen again, unless we get Bitcoin making brand new highs, hitting 70, 80, 90K at a similar time to when this launches. That's going to be the only factor that completely throws my thought process here off. Because if Bitcoin goes up, no matter what the hell you're holding, no matter what the project is, it's going to pump, and it's going to pump the ecosystem underneath it, strictly because Bitcoin's pumping. But if we're still going to sit sideways for a month, 2 months, and especially if Fractal, let's say if it launches, whatever, on the 9th, but Bitcoin doesn't have that golden, all-time high run until, let's say, like November. I mean, I'm just giving a random thing. I don't think it's going to start running in November. I assume sooner than that. But let's say for a month and a half, Bitcoin's still flat, choppy, going down. This is going to launch, have hype. It's going to die out quick. Until Bitcoin makes a brand new high, then people are going to start really jumping in, because, again, when Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up with it. It doesn't even matter what it is. So that's going to be the main thing outside of this, but I'm very curious for Fractal going forward, see how it launches. But again, this video, kind of just wanted to throw some thoughts together on this stuff. So my main thoughts on it, again, from an innovation standpoint, I think we're at the forefront of almost like Bitcoin DeFi 2.0 with these Metaprotocols, all these Bitcoin L2s coming out. I'm very bullish on it. From an investment standpoint, I think, again, I didn't really cover it fully here, but it's going to be very interesting. And at the same time, I think people are going to be very cautious jumping in to these new protocols unless Bitcoin is just making God candles at that current time. So that's what I'm going to be watching. And the other thing about it, though, is when we have so many protocols out or launching, liquidity is going to be very fragmented between so many L2s. Like, if you just think about Ethereum and how many different L2s people have jumped left and right to, from base to blast to, I don't even know what else, is like freaking 20 of them, Manta, all these different L2s, it fragments liquidity very quickly and very easily. I just look at even meme coins. People are jumping from Solana to Ton to Tron, back to Solana, back to Ton because the founder just got arrested. And then they're launching, coins related to Ton, the Ton founder on Tron. It's like so much fragmented liquidity. That's a huge, in my opinion, just long term, that's a huge problem, especially in the current ecosystem, current market, mainly because it's just people are rotating liquidity to catch gains. No one wants to just hold their conviction bags. And I just look at that same thing with any sort of Bitcoin Metaprotocols, things like that. People got hyped for Runes, right? A lot of people have already sold their Runes, waiting for the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one to launch. Fragmentation is going to be something I question going forward, but that's also why I like Liquidium, in the fact that they're already integrated ordinals, they've integrated Runes, they're integrating multiple Metaprotocols, but I think other projects that integrate different Metaprotocols and L2s into their entire ecosystem is going to be very bullish. That's my thought process, but outside of that, I think that's what I wanted to cover in this video. I'll probably go in depth into Fractal, OPNET, and or TAP at some point, make some videos on that, but just some thoughts for you guys. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.